Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Duval Dive Live. Here, of course, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game of Fans First Sports Network.
And I'm Travis Holmes for BigCatCountry.com.
Honor and joy to be with you all after a victory to open the season. I know the Duval Duval are stoked. The Duval Divers are in the chat. And there's two things we got to get out the way quickly. You already know who the first commenter was. And it was Radius doing his thing. Let's LFG flipping, right? Just 81 more consecutive wins for Liam Cohen as Jag head coach.
Oh, man.
And we'll have a 500 record as a franchise. But the one I was thinking of, too, as I saw the score rack up, our guy PJ got his cash.
That's it, man. And shout out, I met PJ before today's game. He drove up from Carolinas, I believe North Carolina, for the game. And I'm just like, you owe me a drink, sir. That's fine. You $550 richer after this Jaguars victory. So
yeah. Hey, we didn't share his optimism in 31-3, but I'm sure everyone's plenty fine with 27-10, as was the final score. It hit the spread. He hit his bet. Congratulations, PJ. I'm even seeing love and support amongst the divers for him getting his cheddar, so to speak, there too. Hey, here's an old favorite coming back. Michael Barber in the room. First thing I'll say, it's refreshing not to need Trevor Lawrence to be a hero to win.
That is it.
That's the quarterback story. He was average, but they won. And it's not really that he played average per se. I feel like they just didn't ask him to do a lot. And
but that's the offense. Like that was the fun part about the 2024 Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense. They didn't ask Baker Mayfield to always do a lot. There are many of those games where he statistically had great games, but then you relook at the games and it's like, oh, he actually had like 90 yards and screens, and it actually wasn't as impressive. But the stats look like it was impressive, and it doesn't matter how you get the yards. We talked about this all offseason. The fact of the matter was Liam Cohen was going to give Trevor Lawrence more layups, more screens, more of those, whether it's running back screens or wide receiver screens, more of those slants, just to keep the offense moving. And for three of those quarters, Trevor Lawrence played fine. He played reasonably well. He just had a rough third quarter, and that's the unfortunate part of it. That's kind of folks are hammering on right now.
Well, and we'll get into that to the moment, but you mentioned the offensive strategy such that it was, I believe, you expressed a vibe earlier in the week that was something to the effect of this.
If you just run through somebody's face, a lot of people ain't going to be able to take that over and over and over and over and over again. They're just not going to want that.
I think there's a deeper metaphor there.
Run through a motherfucking face.
At day's end, I may not have thought this was a probable campaign, but Mega 2025 took place here today. What was it, 143 yards for Travis Etienne, 71-yard jaunt, and obviously what you wanted to see, what we were promised, balanced offense from this group, we got it today.
Bro,
period, point
Travis Etienne had his best game. That's the thing folks aren't talking about yet, and maybe they will on Mondays and Tuesdays radio shows. But this is Travis Etienne's best game. This is a Jacksonville Jaguars best game of a Jacksonville Jaguar running back since the 2022 season. Since Travis Etienne had 156 yards, I believe, in Week 8 versus the Denver Broncos. Like, this is his best season and best game, and it happens in Week 1 of the Liam Cohen experience. Man, you got to think that's a great omen for the rest of this season.
But I'm going to add this in, and I alluded to this in my weekly article post game on Fans First Sports Network, the good, the bad, and the spotty making its return. People might not agree who I thought had a big impact too. Matter of fact, they might think it's a little strange.
I said it to Mike K. Shout out Mike K. He used to working in Jacksonville, market covering the Jaguars. Now he covers the Carolina Panthers. So it was great to see him in the press box today. And we were talking about that early on, and I said it then, and he's like, "Yeah, every time Trevor Lawrence is in trouble, Brenton Strange is who he's going to."
Oh, and you limited to the passing of the ball, sir.
Oh, no. I had a conversation with one of the former coaches that was inside of the box also that kind of walked through, and we talked about one play from Brenton Strange where he had an old school 1935 just demolition of the Carolina Panthers defensive end. I'm talking straight forearm, boom, and the dude's out.
Is that the pancake in the backfield?
I don't know if it was a pancake. It was straight up like he came back and was just like killed a man. That's what Hef just said it in the comments. He killed a man, and he did it legally. Like, it was a really nice block, and I'm so ready to see it on the all 22, so we can kind of talk about it on Big Cat Country's rewrite on Monday.
Well, and here's my thing with that. He made huge blocks, had a key block in the touchdown run by Brian Thomas Jr., and secured the catch on the onside kick to fill the gap and call it a day. I don't know that a single player had that much impact in as many places as Brenton Strange did today. If you want to call Travis Etienne the player of the game, sure, production has you and compels you to do that. Maybe you have a defensive back that you could put in there, considering the fact that the defense had 3 turnovers today. I know we're going to talk more about that later, but Brenton Strange doing it in the ground game, in the passing game, and on special teams, huge day for me. I think he's my player of the game, and it's despite all the stuff we saw, man. That's where I'm at. No disrespect to Travis Etienne. Maybe they could be co-players of the game, because you better bet some of those runs got broke off because Brenton Strange did the thing he did. And now, when our guy Ben Troop comes back on the show, he's going to have even more to answer for about that whole Evan Ingram take.
He's been mad about that Evan Ingram take for a few months now, so we'll have to have a conversation. No, I do understand, but no, KB, you asked the question, how do we feel about, do you like the tight ends now? Like, well, we always like the tight ends. Let's be very clear about it. But Hunter Long being your first touchdown of the game was just real funny to me, because I'm like, oh gosh, that was a plus 4,500 bet. For any of you who listened to the Friday betting episode and just felt the need to make a crazy bet out there, that was a plus 4,500 bet for the first touchdown of the game. Also, I thought that was real interesting. And then Brenton Strange has the game that he has. And if you're in the fantasy landscape, you're probably saying, well, it wasn't an incredible game. If you watch the game, Brenton Strange had an incredible impact on the game, as Kyle just kind of mentioned, both in the run game and in the passing game. I mean, he was one of the top receivers for the Jacksonville Jaguars receiver group. I mean, he just happens to be a tight end.
Yards, right? I believe.
Right. 59 yards. Yeah. So like, that's a very good game for him. Also, across the board, it was a very efficient game. Exactly what you want for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Exactly what we've talked about all offseason as far as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It doesn't explode off the page. It gets the job done. That's all that matters. A W is a W.
100%. And the point I wanted to make too, this is the vibe I had. Travis, follow me on this, because I know you and the Duval divers out there will dig this point. And I'll get to more comments, guys. Keep with me. We're just kind of getting off the ground here, because some things I got to get out the way and off my chest. And I happen to have the microphone, so too does Travis on this one. And I'm just going to say it.
Okay.
So Travis Etienne went 71 yards on an excellent run. And for a moment there, you're always a little perturbed, like, well, that was a great one, but now the running back has to come off the field. Darn it. Oh, shoot. Bayshaw Tootin has to run now. Isn't that a shame?
That's it, man. Bayshaw came on and he did his thing at the end. And I was actually like crazy. I was like, oh my. Bayshaw was the next guy to come in. There was one point in, I believe it was late in the third quarter, where I'm like, dang, is Tank Bigsby going to get a snap? Like, going to get a rush? Because his only official run at that point had to come on a play where it was called back for holding. And I'm like, oh, this is crazy. Having so many good backs, because LaQuint Allen showed himself also. And
on third and short, yeah.
Well, he had 2 great pass blocks. He had 2 receptions, I believe, in the passing game. It might have been 1. Sorry. And he also had the rush on third down. And I'm like, oh, third down draw. It was a great game across the board in the Jacksonville Jaguars run game. Jacksonville Jaguars offensive line. It wasn't the prettiest as far as penalties. Let's be very clear about that. Like Coach Cohen talked about it after the game. We've talked about it all offseason ad nauseum. Like, we know penalties are going to be an issue just for some time as they continue to get it cleaned up. The Jaguars had 2 series today where they had 2 penalties for holding, and then they had another one where they had 3 overall, including Trevor Lawrence's intentional grounding. So it's not the cleanest day. But man, they got the job done.
Yeah, and I had alluded to that. That's why I had said that the Jags would only score 26 points. And I was nearly right if it wasn't for another turnover. But at the end of the game,
I said 27-23, and I was way over on that 23. But yeah, Bryce Young, that boy was Bryce.
But before we walk into that, I do want to mention, like, this running back core and their set of skills and everything they're doing, they're all set up. They're just the appropriate group that they put together there, over the past 2 drafts. I'm not trying to give Trent Baalke any credit either. And maybe I shouldn't give James Gladstone too much credit either, because maybe they went to ZipRecruiter. That's right. When you're trying to get your group together for your employees, for your organization or business, ZipRecruiter is the way to go. You want to get past that time-consuming process of looking for candidates, looking through all the resumes, trying to find the people with all the right skills and all of that. Well, the future of hiring looks much brighter because ZipRecruiter's latest tools and features help speed up finding the right people for your roles so you save valuable time. And now you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/audio. With ZipRecruiter's new advances, you could easily find and connect with qualified candidates in minutes. See a candidate you're really interested in, and you could unlock their contact information instantly. Over 320,000 new resumes added to ZipRecruiter monthly, which means you can reach more potential hires and fill roles sooner. No wonder ZipRecruiter was the #1 rated hiring site based on G2 at ZipRecruiter.com/audio. And guys, use ZipRecruiter and save time hiring. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get quality candidates within the first day. And if you go to ZipRecruiter.com/audio right now, you could try it for free again. That's ZipRecruiter.com/audio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Or apparently build a running back pin. Listen, advertising jokes and fun aside, I think getting the running game going was great, Travis, but the point I like the most, I'm going to let you shine and tell me what you thought of the defense, because to me, we mentioned this team was going to be a run-first group. We knew Chuba Hubbard and company were going to be a focal point, and if Bryce Young were forced to throw, he might struggle. I don't know that I expected this necessarily, but the defense keeping a group that isn't inclined to do well playing from behind was a big factor in the game as well.
That's it. I mean, they set the Jacksonville Jaguars offense up for success on multiple occasions. The fact that they had the 3 turnovers, but they had the 2 turnovers that resulted into 10 points off of those, both of them involving Foye Oluokun, whether it's the diving interception because he continues to run and hustle after the play. When honestly, in previous seasons, that might have been an incompletion. We've had literal full all 22 sessions where we talked about, hey, that guy's not hustling. Hey, that guy's not running. And then it results in like, well, that could have been a good play if you had guys around the ball. Foye Oluokun is 20 yards down the field, and he ends up getting the deflection from Eric Murray. Also, shout out to him for that wonderful play. He ends up getting the deflection on the interception there, and then later ends up causing the fumble, but right before the half that results in the later field goal because Jordan Lewis is right on the spot, also hustling to the ball, recovers it. Now you got the De'Ami Brown catch, and now you got the Cam Little field goal going into the half. Like, it was a great situation overall. I had a really hard decision trying to figure out who was going to be my defensive player of the game because Foye was so dang good. But Jordan Lewis also had had a
great game.
Yeah, Jordan Lewis also had a great game. He also had 2 turnovers himself, and he was involved in that Foye. He got the Foye recovery. So it's like, oh man. But and Eric,
my favorite thing with Jordan Lewis that isn't necessarily actually it might be. It's a pass defended on the stat sheet, but like. So Jordan Lewis got picked on a play. You might even know the one I'm talking about.
Yep, Hunter
Jordan Lewis got picked on a play, and Bryce Young was pressured to throw the ball a little bit high. Jordan Lewis closed, and in most plays where younger or less talented players would have been flagged for PI for a face foul, he made sure he batted the ball away before. God, it was just beautiful. And I'm the old lineman on the group, and I'm loving it.
Yep, and most players would freak out. Most cornerbacks would freak out and like hit the guy in the face or whatever, run through the receiver, and he just played it perfectly. Even when he was beat, he didn't freak out. He just kept playing the game, and that's something you've also seen from Jarian Jones. Honestly, like, it stunk that Jarian got there early in his own pass interference or later in the game against Tech McMillan, but you've seen that throughout camp. You've seen that in the preseason with Jarian. Also, those similar type of plays where you're beat, but it doesn't matter because every cornerback's going to get beat. It's how you finish the play. And Jarian and Jordan Lewis finished the play through Hunter Renfro's hands, got a great pass deflection there, ends the game with the 3 pass deflections and also an interception and a fumble recovery. Hell of a game for him, recently being brought in as a player for the Jacksonville Jaguars. offseason, and also recently being voted as a captain. Like, it's a great situation.
Yeah, and anybody who's wondering why Travis Hunter may not have got as many defensive snaps as you might have thought would have been because Jordan Lewis is having that kind of a game against a team that's going to try to run it first against a struggling quarterback. Why mess it up? I think, and I've said this before, Travis, I think we'll see more of Travis Hunter next week when they battle Cincinnati in that offense. But I think the defense overall had a solid day. I feel like they got pressure. They could have done better on outside contain on the run, but it also is Bryce Young.
That's fair. Josh Hines Allen ended the game per Pro Football Focus with 7 pressures and 3 quarterback hits. I thought he had a reasonably solid second half, but in the first half, I thought the defensive line across the board, including Hines Allen, I thought they were moderately quiet. I had a long conversation with a few of the guys in the media about Eric Armstead on that first series. I thought it was questionable, like in the run game, getting moved and things like that. Like I thought it might have been a long day before that break, before that weather break, just how Carolina was performing on the ground. But Bryce Young also struggling in the air, I think, helped the Jacksonville Jaguars defense. Like, I'm still curious to see what it's going to look like when they play a team that is consistently dominant as far as the run game is concerned. But I do think overall, it was the exact game you want to see as far as a warm-up game, quote unquote, for the Jaguars. I know there's no warm-up games in the NFL, but you know what I'm saying.
I do.
It's not to demean the Carolina Panthers, but we know what we saw. Let's be honest about this.
There's a big leap from Bryce Young to Joe Burrow. I don't think anybody's going to say a damn thing about
that. That's the point, man. But no, I mean, when you talk about the fact that Mason Smith was made inactive today, and unfortunately everybody was kicking themselves as soon as coach's press conference is over, because none of us got a chance to ask him about that as far as why that coach's decision took place, but that he was labeled as a coach's decision for his inactivity. So the assumption is the fact that we talked about this before the Miami Dolphins game in our preview pod, that, hey, I was going to be worried a little bit if Eric Armstead or Mason Smith didn't play in that preseason game, because I thought the conditioning might not necessarily be there. That is still my assumption, is that even though they did practice that week and then he did play in that game, is that they're just going to give him some time to kind of get this thing ramped up, because being in football shape is different than just being in off-season shape, and he obviously missed much of the off-season because of his off-season training injury.
And maybe that's why Eric Armstead did not show up to your standard there, because of all that too. And by the way, I told you he'd start week 1. I'm just you
did. No, you did. He just needed that time, and as far as resting, like a lot of the veterans end up doing. But I think it would have been a little bit better of a performance had he been like up to those maybe mid-season, we'll call it, standards.
And so I've been letting the comments kind of dangle. So let me catch up.
Let's get into them
for a bit. Yeah,
my Big Cat Country article is already written and on the site. So when you're done with this podcast, go and check it out, because I got all the time in the world. Let's talk about it.
No, I love it. Let's start with Radius. He says Strange was great. Long had the touchdown wide open. Yeah, that was an easy throw. Mm-hmm. I thought that was a pencil whip personally. And then Munt was relatively anonymous in the receiving game. I need to go back and look closer on the blocking. Radius, I think it's just a matter of there's only so many mouths to feed. I think Munt's role is going to be further in the season when either Strange or Long get beat up. He's going to be brought in as a second tight end to help with blocking in those instances. Not to say that Munt can't catch the ball. I just don't think he's as good a receiver as the other two.
And Tampa Bay was also near the top of the league. They weren't like Jacksonville last year, but they were near the top of the league in 13 personnel. So there may be a game or two that they want to run 3 tight ends, and that's where Munt's going to come in even more.
That's a fantastic point. That versatility is important. I agree. The run game was so much fun to watch, says Carlos Reyes. Mike Barber announces his presence. We shouted you out earlier, my friend. I like PJ Brown's point here. As long as we can run the ball, Trev don't gotta be a world beater. I believe that's the point.
Let's talk about Trev running the ball, though. Trev ended up getting. I was talking to one of my boys. He said he had a bet that Trevor Lawrence was gonna have an over/under for 13 yards rushing. So I know he's out there dancing in the street with the 14 yards rushing for Trevor Lawrence, and one of them for a first down. Mm-hmm. Coach Cohen talked about that also. Like he said, he was looking for that entering this game, whether or not when the play breaks down, whether Trevor was just going to take what was there, or whether he was going to try to just make the play happen and get into trouble, which Lawrence did earlier in the game. He had to call for an intentional grounding penalty because he was trying to keep it going on first down instead of just getting off the play and just throwing the ball away. So he learned later in the game. That's awesome to see your quarterback actively in game get smarter and get better as far as protecting the ball and protecting the lead.
For sure. And listen, he's always good for one first down a game. I feel like he got it today as well on a rather nice looking run, I thought, too. You know, it was almost as like, hey, guys, I can run too. Just because I'm not short doesn't mean I ain't got some wheels, okay? So, yes, that's a Bryce Young comment. Anyways, let's see, going down here. Radius says, I was worried about the run game after they stuffed the 3rd and 1 in the first quarter. Fair.
It was nice. It was a good play too. I felt weird about how Ezra Cleveland was playing. I'm just being honest with you guys. I was weird about how he was playing earlier in the game. And it also stinks because the Panthers lost one of their defensive tackles. He was ended up being evaluated for a concussion at one point, and then later went out the game for a hamstring injury. And that's when the Jaguars run game also kind of took another step up. So I don't know how much of that is they got better, they figured it out, they changed what they were doing as far as their angles in the run game, or the guy who was beating their kicking their ass ends up leaving the game. And unfortunately, we won't know a lot of that until next week.
I do really think it's elements of both. To your point, we won't know to what extent is each, but you know, that's a whole other sort of thing. But, Carlos Reyes coming in with the dose of reality. Try not to get too overconfident, but damn, that win felt good. Tough matchups coming. Yeah, listen, and this one didn't look like a gimme at first, right? If the old Jags came in that couldn't stop the run worth a damn, this is a closer battle. But I felt there was a lot more dominance. I felt like there was concern for the defensive tackles up front. We knew that. We felt that way. The Mason Smith inactivity, all that. But at day's end, eventually, whatever adjustments were made, whatever the cause was, or if it was just simply the offense finally kicking, so they had to abandon it. Whatever works, well, it worked. We'll leave it at that.
I mean, fair. Yeah.
And yeah, Michael Barber comes in. What we call some of these throws layups. The fact is, he was dishing well enough to win. This was a good day. 100% commitment to the system is what we need. We need. No one needs to do too much. Mike, you make a good point. I'll even add this, Travis. I felt like there were a few too many drops earlier in the game too.
I know we had the Brian Thomas Jr. drop on the jailbreak screen earlier in the half, but I don't recall any other ones.
There was another one, and I think it was De'Ami Brown that had it. That was a pretty clear opening.
You're talking the sideline play, the sideline that they end up reviewing and calling it incomplete. I mean, I guess that was one. I
no, it's a different one than that, but that's another one too. That's a whole other for kerfluffle. I mean, the one thing I'm not going to say slam. The one thing I would critique Coach Cohen on was the Panther receiver who had one step in and then stepped the second foot out of bounds.
Oh, Xavier Legette had a rough game. He had a rough game. He had multiple catches where that should have been catches. Because again, I'm sitting right next to the Panthers beat, and they're pissed at this dude just because he could not get one foot in, and one of them was an easy one, and the other one was at least a little bit more difficult. But nevertheless, and to your original point earlier when you said it did early on, it didn't feel like this was going to be necessarily a blowout. That's exactly how they were talking. Like, even when it was a 17-point win, it didn't feel like the Jaguars had this thing wrapped up, especially after Eric Murray then gives up the touchdown on the broken tackle. That's one of the reasons I couldn't put him in the player of the game conversation. Also, just an FYI.
Well, that play shouldn't have even happened when you think about it. You mentioned the pit. How mean is it? How much pain do you need to feel, Duval, when you have a penalty that takes away a Dewey Wingard pick six?
That Dewey Wingard pick six would have fed all the families in Duval County, absolutely. And it stinks that it got called back. But yeah, because the Jaguars, if I had one criticism of the way that they played or they called the plays in that second half, it would have probably been that on that series. I think they played a little bit too soft, and that includes Travis Hunter, giving up the Tech McMillan, slant on third down. It was just like, dude, y'all got to play tighter. This is the time where you could have literally just solidified the whole game. And they did it the next series, but on that series, they kind of just gave up 3 plays that I'm just like, this is your time to just seal this thing and call it a wrap and just get out of here and go home. But yeah, nevertheless, again, the overall is a good thing, but I'm not going to say they're above criticism. And I think that was rough series to trying to play a little off coverage and just trying to let these guys just go down the field that easily.
So, and then, this is what we're talking about. Brandon Strange killed, man.
Brenton Strange killed him, man.
Morning was the pancake. I'm fairly certain, because I know what play you're talking about too. I'm fairly certain Strange has a backfield pancake as well. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Hey, either way, Brandon Strange is my dude today. That's the guy.
So I'm looking for them to clean it up next week against Cincinnati with the missed tackles. I'm still looking for them to clean it up in the penalties, because we've talked about that again so much. So, but I'm encouraged by the defense because they got 33% of the turnovers the Jacksonville Jaguars got in 2024 in one game. In the first game of the Liam Cohen experience, getting the defenders' eyes back on the quarterback and allowing them to kind of make plays on the ball. And they did it. And more importantly, punching the ball out, which we've been talking about how much they do it at practice. Again, I've been to nearly every open media practice other than like 2. And every practice, they either practice it for 2 periods or even 3, punching the ball out, fumble recovery, and hustling to the ball, all of that. And you're now seeing it in practice. You're seeing it in the game. And that matters a lot to me because I think it's going to matter on the end result at the end of this season when you see the turnover numbers compared to last year.
Well, I mean, it's crazy. When the bar is in hell, as a good friend of mine says, it's nice to see you come out with 3 turnovers off the bat. I mean, goodness gracious. They had 9 all of last year, Travis D. Holmes. In one half, they had 2. Blew my mind. Something I talked about in the good, the bad, and the spotty.
And held Bryce Young to like 48.9 quarterback rating. Like, that's
not great.
I mean, I say held Bryce Young. Bryce Young held himself back, but you know what I mean. Like, the only thing Bryce did really well today was scrambling, and that's something that the Jaguars will have to take care of, especially playing someone like Joey Burrow next week. Joe Burrow, because he likes to scramble, and he also normally starts off pretty slow historically throughout the season. That's if you're looking at previous Cincinnati Bengals seasons. So you have to expect, Burrow's going to likely scramble, and the Jaguars are going to have to figure out something to kind of rectify that because they did struggle with that today.
I mean, for context, the Bengals actually did win their game, but nonetheless, they did it against the Cleveland Browns. And I believe the final result was 17-16. Yeah, that's correct. So not exactly a fire. Baby, you're a fire. No, that's not happening. Okay, this is not a Katy Perry game.
Okay.
I went full falsetto on that. I'm just saying.
And also, it was interesting that with Anton Harrison also left today's game with a back injury later in the game. So that's going to be something that we're going to have to keep a look on because Chuma Adoga ended up replacing him towards the end of the game. They didn't do as much passing at that point. He seemed solid in the run game. Like Adoga's even in the preseason seemed reasonably stout in the run game. I just if he has to be the foreseeable right tackle, we'll see how Cole Van Lannon looks moving forward. Maybe he'll be active next week, or maybe Anton will be healthy. But again, those are a few moving pieces since they have so many different options. The Jaguars at right tackle. That
depth we've been talking about, they got. Michael Barber says Foye is his player of the game. I respect that.
I mean, it's pretty hard not to be Foye at this point, man.
I made the bet for an anytime touchdown for Long. Couldn't pull the trigger on the first.
You did not. If you would have made that's Super Bowl odds for like a bad team, 40 plus 4,500. If you would have made that bet for Hunter Long, first touchdown.
He did get it for the anytime. So that was a dub, but come on. Hindsight's 20.
I sure as hell didn't think it. I mean, but again, first play of the game plus 4,500. He probably got plus 800 odds for an anytime touchdown for Hunter Long though.
I mean, just saying, you did all right. Okay, it's all good.
You did well.
Yeah, Carlos Reyes, happy to see the defense adjust to the Panthers running the ball in the first half. Sure, I think they were. They were prepared for anything early on, like just trying to do something like you think we're going to run, so we're going to go and they played a balanced defense, and then eventually they said enough is enough.
That's true.
And here comes our favorite troll, Timmy Devil 999 coming in. Trevor Lawrence is just not good. It's time to tell the truth. Oh boy, is this what we're doing?
So if he doesn't have that rough third quarter, you probably say he was fine in his block. Because he has a rough third quarter, you're like, he's bad. And I'm like, dude, come on, man. Like, where are we on this? Like, he didn't have the greatest game overall, but they also didn't need him to have the greatest game. Like, they didn't try to push the ball downfield. Like, or were you watching the game? Like, It was to the point where they knew this is the Atlanta Falcons game from last season. Like, they knew that they were going to win this game. It wasn't even a question. Well, actually, I said last season. I might have been 2023.
2 seasons ago.
It was 2 seasons ago. Like, where you walk into the game and you at that point know you're going to win it, so you don't have to take chances. Like that's what that felt like to me. And they know next week who they're playing against, and we'll see how they adjust and if they end up trying to attack a little bit more down the field. They played the game that they needed to, that they knew they were going to win. Efficient, smart football. I don't got no issues with that, man.
Yeah. Michael Barber brings up an interesting point. More Duval diving needed. The run design, it's deliberate to isolate at the second level. Linemen aren't as much off the point of attack. They bring in tight ends across the back end to block. Yeah, I think you're looking for more basic runs where they just try to run to the inside. If I'm reading your comment right, Mike, I don't know that this is the team you do that against, is my response, right? If you remember Travis's analysis on Wednesday on that episode of the Duval Dive, we would be prescribing you avoid Brown squared. And the way you do that is not running up the middle, right? Even if you get the tackles contained, and those backers are right there waiting for you. Moving the tight ends around, getting that around, doing some trickeration, keeping the linebackers moving side to side, thinking twice before they attack a hole. That's where you got to get started with that. That's where some of that running came from, and maybe why they didn't concentrate on the dive.
But we talked about this, like you said, on Wednesday's dive. The fact that they played against the Pittsburgh Steelers, the fact that they played against the New Orleans Saints, they had already had experience this preseason in this scheme playing against two teams who run a 3-4 defense. Like, so they knew as far as their landmarks are concerned where they need to attack, and this was just going to be one of those games where, just like in the preseason, you saw many of those wham plays where they had the tight end coming across the field, kicking those other guys out instead of allowing the tackle to block that guy. He's getting up to the second level to that linebacker. They did the same thing today multiple times because it helped with their landmarks playing against a team that is running 3 down linemen instead of 4. We'll see if it changes and how that changes, I should say, when they're playing against a team with 4 down linemen, maybe next week. That may be a little bit different. That may end up being more of a Tank Bixby game when they run more power, and we'll see. But we knew that walking into this game, so it's not as much of a surprise.
And then Mike adds on to the point. He also mentions wide receivers motioning into the box to get in as well. Yeah, all things they're doing to kind of maneuver things around to take that kind of stuff from teams that have that. I'm going to, try to crush your face early on.
Run through a mud face. Yes, that. Yes, so. Marshawn, shout out there. And talked to Big Game James, Sport then Media Group, Big Game James, today, and he walked down and said this to me. He was like whispering. He's like, "Bro, this was a great game by the defense, but also, you tell me you're not nervous about next week. A real quarterback would have carved that up because they made a lot of mistakes in key downs. The Carolina Panthers center on once on 3rd down, once on 4th down, snapped the ball early and it threw Bryce Young off. Helping the Jacksonville Jaguars defense. We're being real about this. Like, we're always gonna keep it a buck with y'all. Like, Jaguars won, but they were helped significantly by the other team's offense just failing on some basic things. Like, so both things can be true. So I need the Jacksonville Jaguars defense to play as well as they played today. Add 15% for next week because I want them to be ready for the Cincinnati Bengals offense, who hopefully would maybe play similar to how they played today. And then that will help the Jaguars start the season off 2-0. And I think most people probably didn't predict that. So, yeah, fingers crossed.
Radius shouts out our ZipRecruiter segue today. Smooth.
Hey, man. Nash did that.
Let's see. Intentional grounding had me screaming at my TV. Yeah, that wasn't a great play, of course. He did that because he's not good at throwing the ball away. I think it's because he's still used to having to be the damn hero. Can we make this, if we're going to keep it a buck, can we keep factors? All right.
That's hard though, bro.
He was asked to be the hero.
I'm with you. He
was asked to be the hero. Well, let me lay the plane. But with Doug Peterson, also had to be the hero because he was either let down or the run game wasn't there. He needs to, this is me basically agreeing with Timmy Daredevil. I'm just explaining why. As the season goes on, I think he'll be more mentally in command to feel confident to be able to live to fight another day. Go ahead.
All right. So you're saying that Trevor Lawrence, this is week 1 in a new system. This is him just still getting acclimated to this new situation. So Trevor Lawrence is the.
Oh no,
is
I'm
the,
not saying that either at all.
No. So Trevor Lawrence is the previously scorned girlfriend who you are now dating, who's used to having to do everything by herself, and you keep having to remind her. You keep having to remind her to stop doing this so much. No. I got you, baby. You have to understand. This is what it's like to be with the real man, and I got you. You ain't got to do everything. So Trevor Lawrence is that. So you got to give him a pass, just a little bit, grade him on the curve, just a little bit at the start, and we go. All right, we expect more of you later, but for now, I understand you doing this one time per game. You get this your one mulligan. Now let's keep this thing moving. That's right. I got you. I can see it.
Liam Cohen is a real man. That's what you just said. I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it. So,
all right, cool.
PJ Brown coming in next week. Travis starting on defense. Definitely going to need it. Yeah, I believe that's what we were analyzing too before.
I question that though. Did you see how much let's talk about that. Did you, because everybody who had an issue with Ryan Nielsen's rotations in the 2024 season, did y'all notice how much that defensive line rotated in that first quarter and a half before the hour and 16-minute pause in play? There was one play where no one who started the 2024 season on the Jaguars defensive line was on the field. Josh Hines-Allen was off. Mason Smith didn't play. Travon Walker wasn't on the field. And Devon Hamilton was on the sideline because they had Colin Saunders in. Literally, none of them were on the field on one of the plays. And I'm like, yo, is anybody noticing how much they're rotating the D-line? And then later in the game, they did the same thing with the secondary. The only difference is they kept Tyson Campbell on the field. But Jarian Jones was playing. They had Travis Hunter also playing at a different point. There was a lot of rotation on that defense. We just don't care because it worked. They hated Ryan Nielsen because it didn't.
Well, A, B, I don't think it was as often. There was rotation, but
I almost cursed. Early in the game, it was very often.
Sure, and maybe he was trying to get a feel for it and what he had to do to stop it. Of course, if it's going to happen, I'd rather see it early to find your right fit. That actually makes sense. For it to be a way of life is not the same thing. Just for clarity, I know you think so. That's more for the audience.
Yeah, but we hope it's not the way of life. That's an assumption. We thought it wasn't a way of life in 2024 with Ryan Nielsen when he started doing it. And then by the end of the season, we're like, this dude's still doing this thing. Like we gave him that pass. So I don't want to be like the scorn that's girlfriend. I don't want to be that and hold these dudes to that same standard. You might be right. They may be just trying to figure out what they have. But I don't know. I just thought it was probably the most substitutions I had seen in the Jacksonville Jaguars D-line and secondary, and we saw Ryan Nielsen last year, so I thought it was a lot.
So yeah, and I mean, I'm just seeing more Foyer props in the comments. I mean,
he deserves it.
The only reason I'm not still doing it is we only have so long. Travis here, got to get home.
Appreciate you.
I'm not trying to go too crazy, but let's see. Soft fans talking about touch. So. Let's just say the Duval divers are having some fun. If you want to see, go look at the comments.
I will.
See all the drama, but Carlos Reyes says, "Damn, just saw the Jags didn't give up a sack today. Go offensive line." Point I mentioned in the Fans First Sports Network article. Now, who got the Jaguar sack though? What are you talking about?
Who picked up the Jaguar sack that the Jaguars got?
I should have known this was going to happen. It was Dewey Wingard.
Nope. Smooth.
Yes, no, Dewan Smooth.
Smooth with the sack and Eric Murray with the game. I felt mighty vindicated after this whole offseason telling folks that Smoot might pop back after his injury because normally it takes you a year to recover from an Achilles injury, and that he might hop back and be a little bit healthy and give you some real rotation on that D-line. And he's shown that in this offseason. He's shown that today. And then Eric Murray having a great game. If he didn't have the missed tackle, I would call it like legitimately great, but it was absolutely above average, even good. A solid, dominant, tackle in the middle of the field. Ended up causing the interception that Foyer ended up getting. And everybody hated Eric Murray because they didn't know anything about him. And I told you, I watched every snap that he had in 2024, all offseason, and he was going to be good. He was going to be a floor raiser. I hope folks are listening now.
Mm-hmm. 100%. Social Alky jumps in. Tootin over Bigsby. We're already starting to do that.
It's week by week. It's gonna
And
be
that's
week.
a correct answer, by the way.
It's gonna be week by week. We'll see. Like they already told you they were going to get all these guys snaps, and they did, and they absolutely sprinkled both him, Tootin and LaQuint Allen in. We'll see. Maybe they wanted to Tank Bigsby to be the hammer because he got more of his snaps and rushes at the end of the game. It could be as simple as that. They just had that idea for those guys, like the old Saints used to do with Alvin Kamara and Jamal Williams. He would only get his snaps at the end of the game. It could be something as similar as that.
Yeah, no, no, that makes a ton of sense there too. There's something I was trying to look for. Yeah, I found it. Okay, let me go back over here. Hunter keeps the juice even on the sideline, pouring confidence into his guys. Yeah, for sure. Social.
Yeah.
Interesting that Social Alki calls it pouring the juice, but that works.
Pouring the juice.
Radius comes in. I was pleased seeing Travis Hunter not looking frustrated on the sideline when they held him out. Was worried about how that would go. I think, listen, I don't think it's like they went up to him today and said, hey, it's this. I think Liam Cohen would have gone to Travis when he heard Travis Holmes and I suggest that he not play as much defense this game. So obviously Liam Cohen said, well, the Duval dive host said don't do it and wait till Cincinnati. So he informed Travis Hunter that he would. No, but
that's it. They obviously are locked in. I understand.
That's right. Yeah. But no, joking aside, I think it would have been back on Monday or Tuesday that they would have this conversation. Listen, Travis, it's not going to be this week that you play a lot of defense. I expect to see you, go ahead and next week against Cincinnati. Duval, and it would have been great. I'm working on my Liam Cohen impression. Okay. I had to end it with Duval so people knew what I was trying to do.
Oh man, yeah. I think you hit it on the head. Like they knew walking into this week. Like they talked about the fact that on multiple pressers leading up to this game, they talked about the fact that Travis Hunter missed 10 days of practice in 2 games. Like that obviously impacted his development. It impacted some of the learning, whether it's in the classroom or on the field, because they do practice on both sides of the ball every day, even between periods when they're still practicing with them on technique in one area or the other area. So like you knew he wasn't going to play as normal snap count. We'll see what it looks like come week 8. But for right now, this is a good start.
And I know because you love Petty Travis, I had to throw in Radius' comment. Do the Broncos suck? For those who are wondering why that's being asked, it's because they're currently only beating the Titans 20-12 in the fourth quarter.
only. Speaking of, the Colts, Dolphins.
I think that had more to do with the Dolphins than it did the Colts. Personally.
Boy. We had our break, our 16-minute break, and I saw that score 23-0, and I'm like, Lord, is Mike McDaniel the first coach to get fired this year? Because goodness.
Well, no, and they're going to put it on McDaniel, but without making this a Dolphin show, I can tell you the issue is personnel acquisition. The Dolphins haven't had a good offensive line since before I wrote for them in the tanking for Tua era.
Yeah, and DeForest Buckner does play. I understand.
Oh yeah, that's a thing. That's a great play for you. Unfortunately, the other reason is because Tua plays too. Anyways, here's where Timmy Devil nails it. Make all those penalties versus the Bengals, and the game will get away from us. Correct.
Facts.
Hope coach is on their head about penalties. He is. That's what he's going to say he is. I think that is the absolute correct take and attitude that anything related to Duval should have heading up to dealing with Chili Town next week there.
No, that's it. But I thought Josh Allen had a good game despite the fact that he didn't get the sacks, and I think everybody just wanted him to have a 3-sack game because I think home fans wanted him to break the Jaguars franchise career sack record today in front of all the fans at EverBank Stadium. It didn't happen, but he did have 7 pressures on the quarterback and multiple. I believe it was either 3 or 4 quarterback hits per Pro Football Focus. So like he had a reasonably solid game. It just didn't result in sacks, unfortunately. But that's what happens when you're playing against a team that's trying to get the ball out of moderately quickly.
Yeah, Social Alki comes in. ETN is the offensive player of the game.
Yep.
Listen, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm just picking Brenton Strange because that's the job.
All right.
Let's see. And let me look through here. Any other comments here? Because there's a lot of stuff about things we've already talked about. You guys are doing great in the comments. Like I said, I just got to get Travis back on the road. He's already an hour behind schedule because lightning sucks.
That's Fair.
Let me ask you, what impact do you think that actually had on the game? You had mentioned a few things that were after the fact there.
Well, I thought it was helpful for the Jaguars defense personally. And Foyer said he had already gone through something in his post game conference. Said he had already gone through something similar in his first game that he ever played, where there was a big delay for. I believe he said it was like similar to the Philadelphia Eagles game, where it was kind of downpouring in that way. And so there was like an hour and something delayed before the start of the game, and they kind of helped them just kind of continue talking, getting things right. It didn't hurt them in any kind of way. And they had good substantive conversations just talking about stuff that had been happening on the field. I thought it was beneficial for the Jaguars defense of having that weather delay and those turnover before it also, I thought kind of made them leave the field thinking, all right, we got this. Because I think that helped also. If the score would have been 3-3 going into that weather delay, I think it might have been something like, oh, well, I mean, you can come out anyway. It's a coin flip at that point. But I think the fact that they went in immediately after the touchdown, you kind of leading on a high, and then you're just coming back and after the turnover, and it's like, yeah, we got this, and this is what they're doing. I'll be getting these things right. And then from that point moving forward, they did better on defense, and I thought it was just beneficial communication-wise.
So with that in mind, Travis, let's get you back on the road. Tell the world where you can be found, my friend.
Well, definitely check out the Big Cat Country write-up app for the game, bigcatcountry.com. You can find me on all the socials, Travis D. Holmes, whether that's on Blue Sky, X, Instagram, etc. And also like and subscribe. If you're listening to the podcast right now, please click that like button. Please click that subscribe button. If you're listening to it on the podcast version, please rate and review us. And also check out the Duval Dive on TikTok and on Twitter. But that's what I got for you guys. Where can you be found, Nash?
You're doing some good things on TikTok here, bro. We got what was it? It was 2 last week that had over 1,000 hits. So that was cool. So yeah, follow Duval Dive TikTok as well. We're trying to be hip and with it and stuff. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as the student of the game. Check out my writings, and this week in particular, of course, the first 2025 edition of The Good, the Bad, and the Spotty. And then also eventually here soon, my work with the Orlando Magic and the Black and Gold Banneret covering UCF, as well as the Night Shift podcast. I graded UCF's performance. I don't care if they won by 61 points. I had questions. Read about those there, blackandgoldbanneret.com. And of course, my work with the Bolt Blitz Uncut. They would have just concluded their instant reaction. Go check that out. Bolt Blitz Uncut on YouTube. So for Travis T. Holmes, thank you, Duval Divers, for doing all the great stuff here in the comments. Enjoy Victory Monday tomorrow. But until next time, everyone, class dismissed. Okay.